Yes, welcome again to the bi-weekly news roundup, the program that we agreed will be coming your way. We want to know what is happening in Uganda, what is happening in the diaspora. We have the usual people who, take their time to find out. And we want you to sit back home and we bring you news closer. We know there are people who live in the diaspora, but they don't know probably what takes place back home. So we are here to make sure that you get what you always miss, or we add on what you already know. Today, we are delighted to have, the usual panelists. Chigundu, who is back fresh from Uganda, and Apollo, who is back home. Unfortunately, today, we will miss Apollo, will miss Agaba Babegumila. He's not feeling very well. And the entire family, himself and the entire family, they are all down. I don't know what is happening. Don't know that COVID is back. But Agaba, we wish you the best from here, the bi-weekly news team. In a special way, I want to welcome back Chigundu from Uganda. Sometime back, we had a show and Chigundu told us that he was coordinating his sister's, she was not feeling well, so he was coordinating the transfer to the hospital. So unfortunately, she passed on. And we'll just have just a moment of silence to remember the life of Florence Nasari Kabine, who was a personal friend, a fellow Rotarian. I knew Kabine way back when we were both in Rotary Club of Makindye, and she had transferred to Rotary Club of Masaka. So just 1 minute, then we remember her and we take off. May the soul of Florence Kabine rest in eternal peace.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Man, Chugund, I see a very strong man. I will just give you a minute to greet our viewers and probably share with us what happened when you went to Uganda. It's very unfortunate that you lost your elder sister, but I see a strong man. Chigundu?
Yes. Thank you, Godfrey. Good morning, team. Good morning, our viewers. I'm back here in Chicago, having traveled as a matter of emergency to go bury my beloved sister. My beloved sister fell ill and succumbed to a condition known as liver cirrhosis. This is where the liver gets damaged and stops functioning properly. It gets scarred. Now, it can be caused by several things, but in her case, the typical cause is when you mention something like that, is most even medical practitioners would say, are you an abuser of alcohol? Because that's one major cause of liver damage. But in our case, she wasn't an abuser of alcohol, but she had what they call autoimmune induced liver cirrhosis, meaning her own body, for some reason, her own body started, her own immune system became hyperactive and started attacking her liver. So it is something very difficult to treat. It can only be managed with the goal of prolonging life, trying to suppress the immune system to stop it from inflaming and scarring the liver. But in this case, key issue is, when do you know that your body is doing this?
Yes.
And if you're lucky enough to know on time, in good time, then you have a greater chance of managing things. But in her case, she didn't have enough information. We didn't know either until the very later stage where the symptom of jaundice displayed itself, yellowing of the eyes. And that's when we started testing and found out that this was happening. And at that time, the liver was severely damaged. The doctors tried to do the best they can in the country, and we at one point even ventured to the neighboring Nairobi in a fight to try and save her life. But in the end, that's where it ended. We're going to miss her dearly, She was a friend of many, including you Rotarians, both in Machende and Masaka, where she relocated during COVID, post-COVID. Yeah, COVID. During COVID time is when she decided, let me relocate back home and base my operations over.
She actually left in 2019 when I was becoming the president.
Ah, there you go. And turns out I didn't even know you guys know each other.
Yeah, she was my birthday.
Yeah. So we're gonna miss her, friend to many. Left her behind two young girls. So it was very tough. I was overwhelmed by the response and the pain that I could see in everybody's eyes. But I'm so grateful that many came out to mourn with us, comfort us, and supported us, and everything went well. Because I went into Uganda in such a hurried, rushed manner, besides me seeing a few maybe processions on the road, I didn't catch the glimpse of what's going on inside the country. I went straight from the airport to Masaka and I was engaged in that in the mourning and the burial, and I had to quickly come back, so I didn't get to see much. But as I was on the plane and that going out, that is when the Ugandan, now mayor of New York, it was the election night. That's, I think, at the time I left. So I was I congratulate Mr. Mamudani for having won the New York mayor run. I would see that many Ugandans are happy and now claiming him. And some people were saying he's not Ugandan. You remember those days. But once he won, now everybody is claiming him. So we do claim him. He's Ugandan. And
no, but by the way,
say he's the first Ugandan mayor of
now that you mentioned it, and actually I will ask Apollo.
Yeah.
I was listening to some Ugandan scholar who said, why are people claiming Mamudan, that is a Ugandan, yet he only lived in Uganda for 7 years, and he was at 7 years, they say you don't understand anything. So only lived in Uganda for the first 7 years, and he left. But as usual, Ugandans were in fact claiming him, as you say. Okay, and my argument has been, no one has claimed him. Instead, he's the one who is claiming to be Uganda. Apollo, what is on the ground? What, I mean, the mama, Beredene, Kiseka Market, Nakasero, the ones who are selling Nyanya, are they aware that a Ugandan is now mayor of New York City? Do they know? Or it is left to the elites like Chibundu, who received the news while on the plane?
Oh, yes. Good morning that side, but here it is evening, and I must appreciate our viewers who take time to follow these conversations. But I also want to register my heartfelt condolences to Ndugu Chigundu and family. We will really miss our sister. May her soul rest in peace. But Comrade Godfrey, about this new mayor of New York,
Zohran Mamudani.
It is, yes, Zohran Mamudani. It is among the elite class of Ugandans who actually knew this gentleman, and I can't say the mama. You call it mama. Mama who is in
you had a network challenge there.
They don't know they know what it was.
Yeah, I think
of joy side, because my network is becoming. Can you saying the excitement was among the elite class of Ugandans, but we have a legitimate claim on Mahmudan because his father lived in Uganda. He is our own here, Mahmudan. He was a lecturer at Makerere University. I think he has lived most of his life in Uganda, and the fact that also Zolan was here, he was born here, and then he's the one actually who is claiming that he's a Ugandan. That's something we can also take pride in, and Ugandans were relating to this election of Mahmudani to the election of Barack Obama in the US, because the Kenyans were claiming Obama. Now we also have to claim our own. We have a mayor of New York.
Rightly so. Rightly so. And I thought about Obama too. Hey, the moment, well, if even legally, right? The constitutions talk about who is a Ugandan. Either your parents are Ugandan origin, right? And sometimes that's the only qualification. That's all you need, and you're Ugandan. So it's right.
So actually, Chigundu to be Ugandan, it has to be by birth, by descent, naturalization, or registration. Now, Mahmudan is by birth because he was born in Uganda.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Okay, you had the microphone. You're still sharing with us. Yes, go ahead. No, I think was still with us. The fight.
Okay. By submission, perhaps if Chigundu has something to add on, he is a Ugandan. Mahmudan is a Ugandan.
Okay, it's all right. It's just that social media was making fun of it. Of course, when you talk about Mahmudan, definitely there is even, he was a rapper. I saw him rapping when he was a young man. I think in Nijinja, singing Rusoga songs. I mean, anyways, part of us, I'm sure, tourism, and yes, we will. I hope we are going to benefit from him. So, Chegun, you had the microphone, please.
No. Besides Mahmudani, as I was going out, what else did I? I'm still with my highlights, right? Mahmudani is also Mahmudani going out, and then once I got to the Ugandan side after the burial, here came Mr. Museveni raising up, resisting the push or the argument for who and has what level of access does a country, an inland country, a landlocked country, get when it comes to the ocean. That became a very hot topic as I was on my way out and coming back here. It seems to me that Mr. Museveni has been engaged in some sort of negotiations with our neighboring Kenya, brothers in Kenya, and maybe things are not moving the way he likes. On the outside, you think Uganda has a good relationship. Mr. Museveni has a good relationship with Mr. Ruto. But I wonder why Mr. Museveni chose this campaign political time to bring up and even though, in my view, it's just bluff, but he even hinted that, hey, in the future, Uganda might have a war with Kenya over rights or access to the ocean. I don't think Uganda is going to get up and start fighting Kenya over this, but I think Mr. Museveni borrowed a tactic in the book of Ethiopia, because Ethiopia was engaged in conversations with Eritrea, because once Eritrea won independence, Ethiopia became landlocked. They don't have direct access to the Red Sea. And in the ensuing negotiations, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia also used the same tactic. Raise up the ante, try and bargain from a strength of position, from a perceived position of strength, meaning we're going to do whatever it is, even if it means fighting, for us to be guaranteed that we have access to the ocean. The result of that rhetoric was that they came to some sort of agreement where Ethiopia got some lowered fees and some agreements to develop infrastructure, joint development of infrastructure on the Red Sea. I think this is what Mr. Museveni is trying to do here. I don't know what deal he's trying to get, but he's just using this rhetoric, which is a bluff in my view. He's not going to fight Kenya over it, but he's just raising up the temperature in order to get the best deal he can get in these conversations, which appear to have been stalled somewhere. And I guess now he chose this time to of campaigns to say something that will get everybody's attention. And it did, because now all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. Some people are making even memes, jokes, videos showing Ugandans arriving at in Mombasa with so he did. It is effective. It works. But I don't think there's going to be a war. So Kenyans condemned their foreign minister for not having responded strongly. You know, they always feel like they should be a strong response from Kenya. But no, I don't think it's going to go to war. It is just a bargaining tactic.
Apollo, when I heard the president, you see, and what is shocking is that when the president mentions it, it comes in the middle of his conversation. It's not like somebody he called the press to talk about, but when he speaks, and I may want to agree with Chigundu, the president seems to be frustrated because it seems this has been an ongoing conversation. And like I think as people say, the old man, he says, enough is enough. So he now pours it out. Now, my question is, what is the president trying to communicate here? In your own view, one, as a journalist, two, as a person who's on the ground, are you aware of any conversation that has been taking place between the Ugandan government and the Kenyan government, and maybe one side is being frustrated, the other one is frustrating the other? Because as ordinary citizens, for us, we just jump on things we don't know. Now, at a high level, as Chigundu says, the foreign affairs minister was quick to respond. But the president, Museveni, his narration, saying, and of course, the highlight is when he keeps saying, this is my ocean, okay? And he gives that narrative that, if you are living on a block of flats, it does not mean that the ones on the top floor are not entitled to the compound. So he meant that everybody is entitled, yes. Uganda is a landlocked country, but Indian Ocean, between me and you guys, you know that to reach the Indian Ocean, it will take us miles away. It's Kenya actually, which is on there. So, Apollo, your view as a journalist, as a Ugandan, what do you think stemmed this? The president, all of us know the connection between President Museveni and Ruto. I mean, between Kenya and Uganda, leave alone these small things of the Gen Zs and the social media that Chigundu is talking about, calling Genom Hosi, Baby Nduna, those things that have been happening. But in international relations and the two guys, do you have anything you want to share with our viewers, Apollo?
Yes, thank you so much, Godfrey and Ndugu Chigundu. I like this topic now finding its way in our conversations here, because to me it's a very serious issue, and some people do not actually understand how Mr. Museveni works, and that is why some of his statements are just brushed off, when indeed they are serious statements. And I take this one as one of those serious statements that come from Mr. Museveni's heart, and that is my own opinion. And I will try to substantiate my claim. You know how Mr. Museveni is now very passionate about the markets for the goods that Ugandans are actually producing. And from the beginning, it is Mr. Museveni actually who pushed the regional leaders into this issue now of East African integration. He's very passionate about integration. And of course, we know that integration is about markets, is about common, movement of goods and services, and all those issues. And here, President Museveni is on a campaign trail, and he speaks his mind, and he speaks his mind, and luckily it has filtered into this conversation. Now, you were asking if there are perhaps negotiations about this issue between the government of Uganda and the government of Kenya. I can say I don't know of any currently the negotiations on this particular matter or anything related to it. But what I can remind you is that we had an issue of the oil pipeline. You all know how it all went. Our initial interest was in having the pipeline go through Kenya, but because of those disagreements between Manya, you have to do this, you have to do, the Kenyans did not actually allow us to get that pipeline through Kenya. And that's why we picked the second option of taking it through Tanzania up to the port of Tanga. So to me, I think, like you said, President Museveni may have his frustrations that have been on his heart for some time, because the pipeline is, I think the negotiations were like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, the negotiation about the pipeline, and many other issues, because, you know, there is a time even when we had a serious conflict over the Mijingo Island, one island in Lake Victoria. You know the standoff. The two countries even deployed the army to have access to the fishing rights on that island, because the island was very rich with fish. So those are the insights that can inform this conversation, that indeed President Museveni is frustrated. I can say he has. I was saying his statement was clear. He said it is his ocean, and he has that right, not only for economic reasons, but also for security reasons. And he's talking about having maritime rights, of course, to have the navy, like any other country, for navy for the defense of our country here. So I want to say, I actually think we as Ugandans should support President Museveni on this issue, because these negotiations, these UN statutes that give rights to access to the oceans can be amended, and we also have legitimate rights.
Again, we lose you. Yeah, but as we get Apollo again, Chigundu, Apollo raises very
fair access for those landlocked countries. Then it is unfair. So I as a Ugandan think it's a good discussion. Only that I want to agree with Chigundu that there can't be a war at this time about access or rights to the Indian Ocean. But like President Museveni said, these wars will come in future, and perhaps this is why we should be engaged in these discussions. If it is necessary to have negotiations to improve on the access rights for the oceans, then perhaps we do it in order to avoid such a wars in future.
Okay, that is what I had also heard. Chigundu says about the wars, but he said in the future. So future can be tomorrow, it can be 100 years, it can be 200 years. So between me and you guys, let's wait and hear. Chigundu, any other highlight before I go to the ones of Apollo? If he has any for us, nothing to report about the weather in Chicago here.
Yeah,
nothing.
let's see. Any other highlights in Chicago? We continue to watch what Mr. Trump, his activities and immigration enforcement activities, and how they're impacting the community. Think there has been a lull of some kind with in terms of visible street enforcement. I haven't had any wider one, except there is on the southern side, there's a facility that the public has come to know, and
The Broadway one?
Broadway, and they gather there, and the protests happening outside that facility, and here and here you get some arrests happening, but there has been a quiet down in terms of visible enforcement on the streets. Visible enforcement on the street. That doesn't mean that people are not being picked up here and there, targeted raids at places of work, but we have at least seen a tone down. What went into that? Maybe the government, the immigration department decided to avoid visible confrontations with local leaderships, the mayors and the governor. That has maybe was attracting them real negative feedback. And even actually it led to, at one point led into real protests on the street. I think it was called No Kings.
Yeah,
I think that's what they named it. So I'm happy to see or to report that there has been a reduction in these inflammatory encounters between the general public and the immigration enforcement crews.
I read in one of the news where you remember this teacher that was arrested from the school, the one who was finally released, that teacher. And then I also saw where it's alleged that they are leaving in Chicago and they'll be back in spring. And somebody was saying it's the weather chasing them. So I don't know whether you have information. Is it the weather chasing them or they are now going somewhere else? But they said they were leaving. Do you have any information?
No, not on that, except the other thing that I noted was that there was a ruling, a case, a judge ordered hundreds to be released. So those that were arrested as a part of this immigration enforcement, where a federal judge ordered that they all be released. Yeah, and this was, I think, on the 12th, if I remember correctly, which was about Wednesday. More than 600 members of there was a lawsuit that was filed as a class action. More than 600 members, as mentioned in this class lawsuit, class act lawsuit, and the judge ordered that they be released. And I think from a legal standpoint, that seems to be helping the victims and beating back the government's aggressive approach to when it comes to enforcement here in Chicago. Beyond that, I think that's it for me for highlights. As you know, I was away. I wasn't following everything in real time, having been traveling. But I'm happy to be back here, and hopefully looking forward to the next event in the community here. In our community, we are rounding up the year. Mm-hmm. And from our belief, religious side, we have the Ugandan Catholic community here in Greater Chicago, and we have these monthly engagements, which we come together and pray together once a month, every last Sunday of the month. And in November is always the
fourth Sunday. It's a
fourth Sunday, yeah.
Fourth Sunday.
So November is the last month. That's the highlight. We come together and celebrate Thanksgiving, and this time we are looking forward to hosting a Bishop Perry of the Chicago Archdiocese. He's going to come and lead us in the Mass this last month on our calendar. And we also have kids who are going to get some sacraments, the sacrament of confirmation, right? So that is something that we're looking forward to as we wind down the year in the community. We're looking backwards real quick. I saw Ugandans celebrated our independence, our 63rd independence. Those were good encounters, and it was good to see Ugandans still patriotic and loving their country and celebrating it in a foreign land like this with cultural dances and shared meals. Also, that was beautiful to watch. Always beautiful to watch and always beautiful to engage with.
You know, Chigundo, I think you are being unfair to our viewers and Apollo, who is a panelist. Apollo, Chigundo is the chairperson for the organizing committee for the Thanksgiving that is taking place on the 23rd of December. So
I don't like to blow my horn sometimes.
Yes, and I thought you'd blow your own horn like the Americans do. Now you are really, Apollo doesn't know that, and you should say, oh, congratulations to the chairman organizing committee. And it's about 200 people who attend that, and they're not looking at Catholics only. They target the entire Ugandan community comes. I think it is the biggest so far that hosts, and it's about eating, sharing experience and everything. And then the other way he's also being unfair is that his own daughter, our daughter, is going to be among the candidates that are going to receive the sacrament of confirmation.
Yes.
So he's shy to say that, but I know
that's so good.
That's so good. I want to congratulate her in advance. So it's a milestone for, because you see, Apollo, on the ground when you're in Uganda, you hear people saying that Ugandans living in America, they are living a miserable life. They don't meet, they don't celebrate, but now tell them that they even meet and confirm their children. So Chigundo is one of them you've heard. Now, as you come in, Chigundo mentions that I see that's the immigration, you've heard about the deportation program, where they are rounding up people and sending them back home. Sometime back, we had discussed that Uganda is a country to be receiving deportees. So as a person, I wanted to, I've received so many calls, people asking me, what is happening? Are you guys safe? So for you, have you seen anybody who has been probably deported? How is the news there about what is happening? Because people are saying too much working in America, people are not working. Is there anything on the ground you've heard concerning deportations from America? Anything? Are Ugandans worried? Or it is for the elite? The ones who are working in a Kasero market don't know, they don't even care.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. Some people have been deported from the US. Ugandans have been deported from the US. But you see, the challenge with this issue is that once you suffer such a fate, you suffer it perhaps alone together with your family. It doesn't affect many more people. So it is the pain is at individual level, and it dies out that way. Then Ugandans are very resilient people, human beings, and once something happens, such a thing happens, they move on. They look for other opportunities. They may be deported. They come to Uganda. They try always to stay low profile, either in their homes. They do not. Then later they find a way. And I can tell you, Ugandans will always find a way. So it happens only that we have not had this deportation on mass scale that many people have been deported at once. But these deportations have been happening, and it is so sad, because the situation here and the situation that side. If one has had an opportunity to settle in the US, and then later he or she is deported, then it's a really huge challenge to the family and to they themselves. So that's what is it. But like I said, it happens, but it stays within the confines, within the localities of those people and their families.
Okay. So I want you to congratulate Chigundu very simply, then we can now go to your highlights. Allow me to congratulate our brother Chigundu on my behalf, on your behalf.
I really share my
our daughter is called Megan. It's called Megan.
Yes, I want to share my sincere congratulations to Chigundu and our daughter, and I wish them a very successful event. It's so good for you guys to always have those meetings, those congregations, and that's what we are. What we are. We Ugandans and Africans. I don't know what is the culture, perhaps that side, but we Ugandans are social people. We want to always have our people around us, people who we know, people who identify with us. So it is very important that Ndugu Chigundu is organizing that event, and it's so good that you still treasure that culture, that Ugandan culture of socialization and eating together, laughing together, and enjoying both the sad and good moments in life.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Your highlights.
Colleagues, in Uganda, we are in a political season, as you all know, and as we speak, the presidential campaigns have not actually changed from how it started. It's still a peaceful, exercise. Leave alone some few incidents here and there, like the recent incident in Chiruhura, where candidate Robert Chagulanyi of the opposition National Unity Platform was blocked from accessing a venue in Chiruhura, a campaign venue in Chiruhura. Then later in the afternoon, there was an incident in Lyantonde where goons wielding sticks attacked NUP supporters. And actually there were serious incidents, because even the mayor of Sanga was injured in that incident. Then there were also that blockade he found along the way as he was proceeding to Bwizibwera. Then they arrested, according to Chagulanyi and his team, they are saying around 150 people, all supporters of NUP, were arrested, including this Olivia Rutai. I think you know her. And now this week they were arraigned in courts. Some of them were arraigned in courts and then sent on remand. I think perhaps they would not disturb or try to block Chagulanyi from accessing his campaign venues, but we see these incidents are still going on, which is not good. And the sad part of it, colleagues, I know you, Godfrey, can relate to this. It is because it is happening in the Western region. It looks so ugly that it is happening in the Western region, where there is that preposition that Chagulanyi thinks. So to me, and this is my opinion, it shouldn't be happening in the Western region. It should be, if it is to happen, because I know I want to say it shouldn't have happened, but if it was to happen, it should happen elsewhere, not in the Western region, where we know that there are these tribal sentiments simmering between these two regions, and this has been happening for a very long time, and because Yoweri Museveni comes from that region, then now you have a candidate, an opposition candidate, coming to legitimately conduct an election exercise in that region, and then he is attacked with people who are actually putting on for parts of your agencies. So, but again, seriously happening in the Western region, where perhaps there has been those simmering tensions of those tribal tensions and all that. But otherwise, generally the campaigns are still perhaps peaceful, and Chagulanyi is a very positive moments. We have seen them in Mbalala, we have seen them in Chisoro, we saw them in Bushenyi yesterday, and Shema. You couldn't imagine that he could pull all those crowds, Robert Chagulanyi pulling all those crowds in Western Uganda, because there has been that sentiment that Chagulanyi has only the support in the central region. But if you look at the crowds that are welcoming Chagulanyi in the Western region, perhaps you would say that the things are turning around. Perhaps Chagulanyi is becoming more popular.
There we have a problem with the Apollo, but Chugundu, as Apollo gets network, do you think that the narrative is going to change? Because now when you see the Chiruhura incident, then you saw what happened in Lira when they were tear gassed, and but again we also see where Chagulanyi supporters, the Inup supporters, attacked the Nandara Favi's supporters in Bali. Do you think that it's going to change now, considering that, yeah, we saw those people were carrying sticks? It's a debate I've been following. Others say that they were not supposed to have, moved in a procession. It wasn't there. I mean, but in your own opinion, do you think we are going to get worse, or once he leaves the West, maybe we can get some calmness? What do you make of that?
Very difficult to tell what's going to happen going forward, because once these violent incidents start, emotions get stirred up, and then it usually doesn't dial back this way. We're more likely protagonists in all camps are going to be charged, are going to be fired up, and they're going to here and there try and even revenge, and so I don't think it's going to get quiet. Unfortunately, it looks like now as we get closer to the election date, temperatures are going to get harder and harder. But by the way, I was saying, why did it happen in Western Uganda?
Actually, where the president comes from, his district.
Yeah, why? Is that an indication of growing support, and therefore arcing and angering those who are pro President Museveni and saying not in his backyard at least, right? Or was it a setup? Those who try and stir up these tribal sentiments, right? People trying to instigate a tribal clash here. And who are those, if that's the case? Are they members of the who is capable of mobilizing such a thing? And what kind of scale is it? Like I said, I was traveling, I couldn't read so much into it, I wasn't following closely. But was this a minor skirmish on the roadside? It looked like there was a significant level of deployment from the videos that I saw. Security forces with police trucks and different joint task forces, as they call themselves, a joint task force that was there to clamp down. So was it a mistake of a commander?
Allow me.
I'm really curious. Maybe perhaps Apollo could help me understand exactly what happened there.
Now that Apollo has come back, I will ask you to hold on to your comments and questions, then we'll come back to him. Because was still making his point. Apollo, you disappeared, and thank God you're back. I don't know, network is not good. Can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, and I was also following Ndugu Chigundu's submissions. He's spot on when he says there was a presence of security during those incidents, and you would actually see that the police who were at the scene were not bothered about trying to restrain these goons who had sticks and trying to attack the NUP supporters. And you would wonder why would security play a partisan role in a violent incident that can actually lead to serious consequences? Because that is how things start. You remember how it started in Luka in the 2020 presidential campaigns. It was Bobby Wine with security, and they arrested him, bounding him into a police truck, and then there was tear gas. People reacted. There was tear gas. There were bullets. Then later, it turned into a national calamity when the riots started in Kampala, started in Jinja and Masaka and all those cities. So you would assume that the security forces have learned a lesson from the past incidents, and they would not allow any incident that can culminate into chaos like we have witnessed before. But seeing the policemen at the scene, and they see these goons holding sticks, putting on yellow t-shirts, and they do not even attempt to arrest them, perhaps you think that I want to state that even the local leaders were in support of these violent actions. And actually, that is why I think even the mayor of Usanga was caught up in this in this fracas, and he got injured. So it is a sad.
Hold on your point, Apollo. I may not remember there is a time when we had a similar incident where, I don't want to call them goons, they left CPS. I think they were donning t-shirts with sticks, and then they pounded on either Chiza Vestige's campaign team, and they started hacking them with sticks. Do you think these are the same guys that we see in Chiruhura? Because there's another class of vote, people who are saying that these are people who are Bararu, who are doing their own things, like they were herdsmen. But when you look at the way they were beating NUP supporters, do you think these are indigenous people from Chiruhura, or they came from Kampala, or they are soldiers? Your own analysis on that, and then we can move on.
No, I can't authoritatively state that I'm sure they are either residents or they were imported, but I can also say that they can't necessarily be the same people who attacked Dr. Kizza Besigye, because the incident of Dr. Kizza Besigye is the infamous Chiboko squad that and that is an incident, I think, of around 2011 or 2016. Those are many years ago. This must be, in my opinion, these must be goons organized by the local leaders, especially NRM leaders in those areas, who actually wanted to make a statement that for us here, we are NRM. This place is NRM dominated. We don't even tolerate the opposition here. And we have seen these incidents before, during elections, where an RDC or an overzealous security officer in the area goes on, to make a statement and to prove that he or she is working, so that perhaps he may get promoted or maybe given favors or privileges. So I think this was a work of the local NRM leaders and perhaps some elements in the security who connived to make a foolish statement, a stupid statement to the leadership, perhaps for wanting to be recognized and perhaps benefit from the regime.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps. I think you're muted, Godfrey. Yeah, you are muted. Godfrey, you are muted.
Sorry, my apology. So
Yeah.
do we call it an isolated incident, or you think it may occur now that the campaigns are now coming towards Uganda? Do you think that are we likely to get a revenge, or we just call it an isolated incident, or as you're calling them goons, maybe happy guys wanted to please the president? What do you think as we conclude on that matter?
I can say state that this is not an isolated incident. We can expect many more incidents, especially like you said, when Kyagulanyi comes to his stronghold in the central region, because, well, from the security perspective, and they have stated it clearly, and some of them have shared this information with us, that there is a position that was made at the beginning of this campaign, that security will not use tear gas in this campaign. They will not use bullets or any other those weapons during these campaigns. And perhaps the use of sticks was not mentioned. That's what I can. That's what I can.
Tear gas was prohibited to a certain extent, but sticks are not. You're muted, Godfrey. You muted yourself again. Godfrey, yes. You muted yourself, Godfrey. You're talking, but we can't hear.
I don't know.
There you go.
Are you back?
Yes, I am back. I said that is my own my own my own assessment of the situation, that because perhaps the security were told they will not engage the opposition with tear gas or with bullets, then those overzealous supporters of NRM, either in security, the cadres, perhaps would want to use the available means, which are not banned.
Which are not listed.
Which are not listed. So we may not see tear gas. That one I can believe so. We may not see tear gas, but when it comes to the areas like in Luwero, where we know that there are and these corridors, Nakasongola, those cattle corridors where they usually use sticks. I hope we may see sticks, but it is very unfortunate that these incidents are happening when actually Kyagulanyi as a candidate is legally or has that legal right to campaign across the country, everywhere across the country, and without encumbrances. So it is something we must condemn. It is something we cannot tolerate. At this time, when we thought that we are now witnessing a violent free election in Uganda for the first time.
Apple, I get it, but the police came out to deny, and as usual, they blamed NUP supporters. I've listened, so many of them are kind of putting it on the NUP team. They're the ones who were wrong. As journalists, what were you briefed on? Because I saw, I think the spokesperson kind of blaming NUP. There was a disagreement. They were in a place where they were not supposed to be. How have you received it as journalists?
No, you see, Ndugu, you see the police at times, in such incidents, they do not have the upper hand. They do not have, they can only come out to defend such incidents just because police is the legal or a security organ that is legally mandated to regulate or to maintain order during campaign period. That is how you can only sympathize with them at times, that these orders may be coming from other circles and they do not have the courage, they do not have they cannot, these are things that they do not have control over. So the police said, of course, they must create, they must find statements and make blanket statements that perhaps the opposition were conducting processions which is not within the electoral guidelines. But we know that this is a campaign season. For God's sake, you cannot apply the law to the dot. You cannot. Sometimes the supporters may go out of their way and bend some laws and violate some of the guidelines. But you see that some of these incidents are not necessary, are not uncalled for, and that is the tolerance perhaps we should be calling out for on both sides. Even when the guidelines, the EC guidelines, are violated, we should understand that this is an emotive exercise. An election is an emotive exercise where even the candidate may not have control over his supporters. So how would you treat such a matter to conduct a procession? Well, and the candidate, well, according to the guidelines, the candidate is liable if the supporters violate some of the guidelines. But again, like I said, it is something we can look at as a people who know the politics of our country, and we say, let's have a violent free election. Let's at some time leave some issues to go, and then we move on. The most important thing is going through this season and I mean without casualties like it has been all the time we have been going to elections. There is no point in having an election and then you have 53, 54 people die like we had in 2020, 2021 elections. That like it happened in Tanzania, where we hear that more than 1,000 people died. What is that? Can you call that an election, really? Where you have citizens die in thousands? So that is why we think that we had, to some extent, registered a peaceful electoral exercise. Why can't we restrain ourselves and push it to the end and have it as a precedent that Uganda has conducted peaceful election? Perhaps those other things may happen during the counting and what, but it's good for us, it's good for our future, and it's good for our country.
Thank you. It's all right. So proceed with the highlights.
Well, the highlight perhaps would be the release of the two Kenyan activists who have been under incarceration for more than a month in Uganda. And what makes it so serious is because the security has always, from the beginning, made public statements stating that they do not know the whereabouts of these two activists. But in the end, it is the head of state, the president, who, lets the cat out of the bag. He says, these guys we have been under our custody and we have released them. And later we get to understand that it was through negotiations between the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, and the president himself, you can imagine the foreigners from our neighbors here come to Uganda. They can spend there 39 days, and
we seem to have lost.
I mean, this I don't know.
We had lost.
Sure. Am I clear?
Oh yes.
Am I clear? Good.
Yeah, you are clear. But before you come in, are you hearing
can you hear me now?
Oh yes. Are you hearing me yourself? Oh, okay.
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah. Why?
Yes,
why
I can hear you.
What the president said? President Museveni said that he had them in the fridge, and when they came out to give their statement, they kept on saying, "No, we are not in the fridge. Actually, we're not in the fridge." Yes, proceed.
Yeah, I think the president's mention of a fridge is related to what we call coolers. You know, when you're in a prison, we say you've been in coolers, and it is a slang. I think it is a slang. He used a slang, but the fact is they had been incarcerated in a military installation because Kasenyi is where they train, the SFCs train, and it's a military installation. The sad part of it is, like I was saying, the security playing ignorance of a serious matter involving citizens of another country. You cannot have citizens of Kenya in your country and you don't actually come out to state their whereabouts. They are, I mean, we even saw the activists in Kenya staging protests, asking where their people are, because they knew that they were in Uganda. They were last seen in Uganda, and you play ignorance up to a month until the president, makes this public statement, and then they show up, and that speaks of how our governments have become so intolerant towards dissenting. I'm here, I'm speaking. I believe that I have a right to speak as a citizen, as a journalist, as any other person. I have that right of the right to speak my mind. If I'm not, if as long as I am not making malicious statements, as long as I have facts about what I'm speaking about. So it looks so ugly, and I saw the foreign minister of Kenya coming out to make the activists in Kenya. Now we have painted, Uganda has painted another picture of a dictatorship, an intolerant regime, which is not good for our country and which is not good for our future.
Actually, when Chigundu comes in, I saw General Mhozi's tweet where he was saying that if it was not for his friend, his uncle, Uhuru Kenyatta, probably he wouldn't have released them. So I don't know how far true that one is, but I saw a tweet. And of course, as you say, they have started making fun of it, social media. You see, Uganda versus Kenya. It is a very ugly incident. And this, by the way, for our viewers and people who don't know about the people we're talking about, these are two Kenyans who were arrested as they are coming to give support to candidate Robert Chagulanyi, aka Bobby Wine. And their names are Bob Njagi, I don't know how they mentioned it, but Njagi, and Nicholas Oyo. And as Apple is saying, they were arrested and they were at Kasenyi. It's an SFC military camp. That's where they were. They were arrested. Yes, Chigundu, you are coming in. I thought I would give our viewers that information because I wanted them to know the people we're talking about. Yes, Chubon.
Yes, as Ndugu Apollo was discussing, and I remember even in the this previous segment, he reiterated Mr. Museveni's passionate desire to see that we achieve regional integration, East African integration. But he seems to be less interested in the political integration. Because if he is, and it looks like his focus is only on the economic benefits of integration, access to markets and wider markets and the oceans and all of that. But politically, these nations that make up the East African Federation are far apart. The Kenyans are very much interested in rights, particularly rights to speech and dissent. It looks like the Ugandan side is very much influencing the Kenyans and Tanzanians to say you cannot allow that. Instead, influencing them into crackdowns to the extent that they even put on such an incident of arresting people who, I had them being interviewed on radio saying they went even a step of applying for visas. One would think that if they are East African passport holders or perhaps even just Kenyan identification holders, that they don't really need to apply for visas to travel across the border. But if this is true that these young men took even the step of applying for visas and being allowed to travel, maybe they should have just denied them entry or visas, but they allowed them to come here. And they say they came to engage in political discourse, observation, seeing what is going on in Uganda is going. If we are going to be in this political union as a future goal, we shouldn't avoid political engagements and allowing free flow of ideas and activities across borders. Otherwise, we will never be able to integrate. If the Kenyans are way over there and we are here, we're interested in Nyamanza, Wewe, you just don't do this. Mr. Museveni's goal of seeing integration will not be realized if we don't have actual meaningful political integration. Now, Apollo, is Mr. Museveni shooting himself in the foot? I mean, if we don't integrate politically, in the end, we will not have a meaningful bloc that will become solid and powerful and stronger while engaging the rest of the world.
Apollo, before you come in, the president, in his statement, claimed that these two gentlemen, Nicholas Oyo and Bob Njagi, are notorious
activists. I mean, it is simply looking at them narrowly that they are experts at
yes, they organize
riots or something.
So their role to come here, and I thought we can hear from you. Maybe you have an idea we don't have, but the president alleges that why they were coming here, they were coming, I would say, to train or to teach the noob camp how to riot, just in case anything happened. And that was their role, the two of them. Because it's also argued that there are some guys who are also involved in Tanzania election. So do we dismiss that allegation, or you have an idea? Because intelligence that the president has and security forces were saying that was their role, to come and disorganize Uganda through massive protests, and they are very good at that. So over to you, then you can move to your next highlight.
I want to appreciate Ndugu Chigundu for making a very, very important, observation about the East African community and the effect of these activities to the road toward disintegration. But I want to also say that Mr. Museveni's claim that the two activists are experts in riots, and they had been contracted to come to help the Bobi Wine's camp and to help them with tactics on how to conduct riots. Those are his claims, and from my side, I may not have that information to either dispute his claims or to substantiate his claims. But what I know is that, like Chugundu said, if we indeed believe in integration, we should also believe in its pillars and its levels of integration, because these levels are stated in the East African Protocol, which was the foundation of the East African community. We talked about the levels of integration, starting with, I think, lifting the barriers, then the common market, then we go to common currency, and then the last one was the political federation. If we are indeed, we must also be mindful of how we build up to those levels of integration. Yes, we have had some of the tariff barriers lifted, even when we have been also talking about the access to the Indian Ocean. That's part of it, because it's a barrier to trade. We have had issues of the Ugandan goods going through Kenya, and then they are either blocked or what, but those are other issues. But the issue of political integration, political federation or political integration is part of the mission of East African integration. If we cannot integrate at the level of politics, because politics is everything. Actually, it is politics that dictates the economy. If we cannot allow our people to also have conversations on their politics or about their politics. You remember what happened when Senior Counsel Martha Karua was coming to represent Dr. Kizabesige. Imagine a legal practitioner, a senior legal practitioner. I mean, how she was frustrated while trying to obtain a practicing license in Uganda, a law practicing license in Uganda, so that she represents Kizabesige in the General Court Martial. You remember how she was frustrated, but later, I mean, she was allowed to practice in Uganda. That shows how our governments are intolerant in some way or another. Because if you speak about integration of East Africa, you expect, if you have a parliament, you have members of parliament convening in Arusha. What are they discussing? If you cannot even also allow other people, you allow other citizens also to interact. If we have an election like in Uganda, if you cannot allow other politicians or other citizens of Kenya also to participate at their level, also make a contribution to the politics of Uganda, to the election in Uganda. So what are you talking about? Is that really are you really seriously speaking about integration, or you are actually, like Comrade Chukwu said, you are shooting yourself in the foot? And like I said in the beginning, Mr. Museveni, or President Museveni, has always been at the forefront of pushing for integration, East Africa's integration. But if he is looking at integration only in the terms of economics or the economies of this country, but you're also not looking at the politics of the country, then this dream of integration is in a mess. It will not come to pass, because we cannot. Yes, it will remain a dream. It will remain a dream if we are not serious about it. If we cannot allow the politics of these East African nations also to come together. The politics should align. Actually, that was also a problem when we were talking about integration of East Africa.
and we were busy lifting the term limits when actually the governments of Kenya, the governments of Tanzania are entrenching the term limits in their constitution. For us, we plucked out, we removed the term limits. That is the politics. Then we are talking about the politics. That's when we talk about the politics. When we talk about the politics, we talk about how the people can also. You remember what happened with the Forum for Democratic Change? There was an incident when the FDC sent its people for a conference in Tanzania. I think they were 35. They even
was in Kenya. The conference was in Kenya, not Tanzania.
Yeah, they labeled them. Yeah, in Kenya, they labeled them the famous 35.
Yeah.
Yes, they went to Kenya for a conference, but they ended up being rounded up and they were brought to Uganda. Even without taking them through the immigration, they arrested them there, and when they reached here, they slapped them with charges of insubordination and treason and all that. But even the cases did not take off, did not go anywhere. So if you cannot allow the citizens of these countries also to integrate at a political level, then the dream of integration will remain a dream forever.
Yeah, but Apollo and Chugundu, as we conclude on this matter, we are looking at three nations, whatever you may call it. There's an election in Tanzania when elections are disputed. Kenyans attempt to run to Tanzania to help, on the riots until they were stopped by Tanzanian government. Then we also have, of course, the Gen Zs, and you know what the Gen Zs did in Kenya. Now you saw what the Gen Zs did in Tanzania. It's, I think, only in Uganda where it has failed. Now this presidents, so call them politicians, they are now the only thing they are now fearing are the riots, are the demonstration. So when you see them saying, like I saw Musalia Mudavadi, the foreign affairs minister, saying that when you go to a foreign country, please behave the way they want you to do. So me, I was thinking, does the Kenyan government probably have information that these two gentlemen wanted to cause havoc, as the president claims? Is it diplomatic relations? But if you were in leadership, the two of you, what would you do? Because now the only thing that is happening by removing government, demonstrations and riots. So what do you do if you are the one?
I don't know if just two young men have a capability of instigating mass riots in a country. Just two young men. I don't think so. I think we are being paranoid. The whole idea of just fearing that citizens interact politically, because we are fearing that what is going to be rubbed off. An empowered citizenry, right? We are interested in a disempowered citizenry, and it is clouding our judgment when it comes to the bigger goal, which is we want to see a federated East African community. Two young people cannot, in my view, do not have the capability to organize an effective massive riot. If it was, I'd like to see more. Now, I don't think this has risen to a level where you would be that concerned, where a government would be concerned about a possible security impact to the security of the nation. We are simply being who we are, which is intolerant. Ugandans, politically, we're not interested in seeing engagement politically at the East African level, and that to me remains a concern. We will never get to the dream. I don't think there was anything to worry about from a security standpoint from two young men. Only two young men.
Do you agree with Chugundu? Actually, there were not two young men, there were three. There were not two, there were three. The third one escaped. You remember? The third one escaped, but there were three. Probably could have been many, we don't know. But the ones we know are three. You remember the third one, as they were trying to arrest them, he escaped and he disappeared. But there were three guys, so far the known ones. according to the account that were given by Nicholas and Bob, the ones they gave. Apollo, you agree with Chukundu that's two young?
I want to agree with Comrade Chigundu that only three individuals, 3 young men, cannot and even unarmed. If they were armed, then you would say, okay. And what is the intelligence doing?
Yeah, but Apollo, you know that the recent uprising, they don't use guns. The Gen Zs don't use guns in Cameroon, in Burkina, in Ivory Coast, in Tanzania. They don't use arms. They only come mobilize themselves.
So I understand. But you see, Godfrey, if you want to behave or react like these governments are reacting, then you are like treating the symptoms. You are only dealing with symptoms, not the real issue, the real disease, the real cause. Because these Gen Zs have their issues. They have reasons why they are going to streets. For instance, what happened in Tanzania, me and you know that the administration of High Excellency Samia Suluhu imprisoned the top opposition leaders unfairly. He kicked them out of an election unfairly. For God's sake, there is a reason why the Tanzanians were protesting. They were saying this election is a sham. We cannot tolerate it. And if we are really genuine about respecting the voices of the people, if we are really genuine about what our constitution speak, we should be conscious of these issues. You cannot have an election or conduct an election where all the top opposition parties have not participated and have not even participated because they do not have the capacity to participate, but you edge them out, you push them out intentionally so that you want to run and oppose it. I don't think that is how you treat or you deal with the citizens or you lead your people. Indeed, what is happening in Kenya, the Gen Zs are saying we do not have jobs. The economy is hurting us. Please look at how you can help us. We want to also be to be free. We want to live in a country and survive. The same case in Uganda. Because me and you agree that we are all. I mean, these countries have a majority of young people. Now, if in Uganda we've been talking about Kyagulanyi, expressing and showing his support in the Western region, you cannot say that it is not because the young people are looking at Kyagulanyi as one perhaps who represents their interests. It is a fact. That is why he's now gaining support in areas he initially didn't have support. It is because the citizens feel disoriented. They feel, the young people feel that perhaps the economies are not working for them, and they also have to speak because they have to survive. They are the citizens of tomorrow. They are the leaders of tomorrow. They want to participate also in their politics, in the politics of their governments, of their countries. So I think labeling these 2-3 gentlemen, young men, as experts who are going to cause chaos in the country, I think that is escapism. It doesn't hold water. You can allow them. They come and participate. You have your intelligence eyes on them in case they have a challenge. Even if they had a background of rioting and causing chaos in their countries, if you hold them, make it public that we are holding them for this, and this. They because of their bad record, we will not allow them in their country, and then you deport them. If it means deportation, you deport them, but you do not keep them in the cells or in the military detentions for more than a month, and then you play ignorance. You say we don't know where they are. You keep their families guessing whether they have died or they have not died, and now you can imagine this conversation has actually has actually made Ugandans believe that the people like Chibalama, you remember Chibalama, John Bosco, who went missing in 2019, you know, Sam Mugumya, who spent almost 6 months. I mean, nobody knows their whereabouts. Now you start making Ugandans think that you can hold people somewhere, you keep them in detention, you keep them in torture chambers for a very long time, as long as you want, which is against not only the laws of our country, but also international laws.
Fair enough, fair enough. We as you say, let's hope that we'll reach dialogue and we don't go into that. But as you're saying that, I remembered that is it either this morning or yesterday, President Suluhu forgave the youth that participated in the riots, but she was also very categorically clear that she only appealed to the DPP to release the Gen Zs who they came because of peer pressure, but the ones who were genuinely charged should stay there. And I am told about 1,000 youth were arrested. However, UN, US, and the EU have dismissed, because she has also now constituted an inquiry. She wants an inquiry into what happened. Do you think that, are we seeing Suruhu this 5-year term, is it going to be difficult for her? Looking at, you know, I think she was sworn in twice. The first swearing in was in the military barracks, and then the second one, I don't know where it was. Where do you see Suruhu? Because when she comes out and says, here is an inquiry, and you see the EU, US coming out and saying, no way, we don't agree. They want, for them, they were calling of an independent investigation, not into an inquiry. Apollo.
As Apollo comes in, allow me, I need to jump onto a quick phone call with my people in Uganda, so I'm going to step away.
No problem. Yes, Apollo.
All right. All right. And that is why, or actually what we were talking about, that we must get interested in the politics of our countries, but also even the politics of our neighbors. And that is the essence of integration and the general essence of globalization. That is it. By Samia Suluhu coming out to pardon the Gen Zs who participated in the violent riots we saw during the campaigns and the elections in Tanzania, I would say that is what you can expect of her. That is the obvious after elections, violent as they were. Then after you expect her to make some concessions and perhaps paint that picture that she's the leader of the people. She's a forgiving leader. That is the picture perhaps she's trying to paint. But again, what can she do? Do you expect her to incarcerate these Gen Zs forever, or hold them on fictitious charges for how long? Because her and the administration in Tanzania knows that they were innocent citizens who were exercising their inherent rights to protest once they see that they are being oppressed, their rights are being trampled upon. So I think she's trying to settle in after that shabby election. Her Excellency Suluhu is trying to mend fences with the opposition, perhaps. She knows that she cannot be fighting for the whole term. Now that she has power, she has the instruments of coercion, but now she has to hold them back and perhaps make things move. Your question of whether she may find it hard to be in power for the next 5 years. I think that is something we cannot have guarantees on, because it depends on how the opposition in Tanzania reacts. Because I saw Tundu Lissu is preparing to be set free, I hope, and you never know what he plans, and other opposition leaders in Tanzania. But the obvious is, as long as the people feel oppressed, as long as the citizens feel that their rights are being trampled upon, they will respond, and they respond in the same way, because they may not have the guns to fight. To fight the government. The only weapon they have is to protest peacefully and within their civic rights, and that is what you would expect. And Samia Suluhu she must know that these people at one point, if her government continues to oppress them, they will respond, and you never.
Apollo, are you still on? Okay, we seem to have lost Apollo. But as Apollo comes in, I want to remind you, our viewers, that this is the bi-weekly news round.
In East Africa, governments have power.
Apollo,
they have the might.
Apollo, you
Yes.
are gone. Are you back?
Yes.
Okay.
I was saying, much as the governments in power have the guns, have the military might, they must also understand that the people they lead have also the power to organize, and if they organize, they can do anything. It is a matter of time.
Correct. So for you, in your own view, once Tundu Lissu is released and then he comes, are we going to, because now, yes, she has reached out reconciliation, she wants them released, but of course, those ones that they think were on peer pressure. Now, if Tundu Lissu now comes out of prison, don't you think that Tanzania, now that the EU, US, European, US, EU, even African Union, they are all saying that these elections were a sham. Now, if Tundu Lissu comes out of prison, where do you see Tanzania?
I think I talked about it. I said it depends on how the opposition respond. Tundu Lissu and other opposition members respond. The election indeed was a sham, but it depends on how the opposition organize. If they decide again to go the way the Gen Zs in Kenya or in Nepal or in Madagascar did, then you.
Again, we lose Apollo. We apologize for that. The network is not good today. But I was before he came in, I was saying this is the usual bi-weekly news roundup, where every week we have Chigundu, the CEO for Tukikube Media. Then we have Prince Apollo, who is a journalist, senior journalist in Uganda, who gives us what is taking place in Uganda. And our friend Babi Gumira Agaba is not with us today because he's not feeling well and the entire family is not well. But we are moving on and we're here to serve you. Yes, Apple, I can see you're back. Sorry about the network. Network is not good on your side today. Can you hear me?
Yes, Godfrey, I was saying, yes, I was saying we can all wait to see how Tundu Lissu responds when he comes out of prison, because from history we know him as a man who has seen it all, who has faced several assassination attempts but he has not. He has not relented. He's not fretting in any way. So we expect that when he comes out of prison, it is more likely that he will continue. He will continue agitating for good governance in Tanzania. He will continue rallying the masses for change in Tanzania. But it depends on how the masses organize in Tanzania, whether to take on Suluhu's government head on or to wait perhaps until the end of her term and perhaps organize and participate in a fair election where they can have chances, perhaps, of course. Suluhu is running for her second term of office, and she may have another opportunity to run again. Perhaps that one may cure the possibility of the opposition agitating for it depends on how the opposition responds in Tanzania, whether to go the violent way or to wait for the end of the election of the term of government of Suluhu, and then perhaps compete fairly and in an election and perhaps get the change they deserve.
You see, where it is very interesting, Apollo, is that the Gen Zs were doing it without any leader. Because you see the other opposition, the ones who stood against Suluhu, they actually attended her inauguration, they were there. But now, there's one figure that was not there. So if he comes out of prison, looking at the way these Gen Zs organize themselves without any person like fueling, if now Tinduli says, yes, guys, I'm back, and let's power. Don't you think we are either going to have a coup in Tanzania for the first time, or do you see President Suluhu saying, okay, guys, I've given up, maybe now I go home? That's just in a brief, and then we can now go to... I wanted us to touch little on the current parliamentary elections in Uganda, and then we can conclude.
Yes, another issue perhaps I may share with you is my opinion on how Samia Suluhu also conducts starts off his term, her term of office. You know, when you have gone through such a violent election, I imagine that Suluhu perhaps has learned some lessons for the first time, having the Tanzanians rise for the first time. It was the first time.
Yeah,
it was an experience to her. It must have been an experience to her, seeing the Tanzanians rise, go to streets, burn shops, burn vehicles, and do all sorts of mess. When we used to know Tanzanians are very cool people, very, calm people. I think another determinant is how Samia Suluhu conducts herself in relation to the opposition in her country. Some leaders may decide to go for dialogue, like we saw in Kenya. Once the leader got into power, they would give him positions in government. So I'm saying it will also depend on how Suluhu decides to relate with the opposition in Tanzania. If she goes for dialogue, then possibly there will be calm, and we will not see violence continue. Or even if Tindulusu comes out and Suluhu opts for dialogue with Tindulusu, that would come the situation. And let me tell you, Godfrey, these opposition leaders, they are politicians. Politicians many times are not hardliners. They are not like rebels. They are not extremists. They are also looking for an opportunity to dialogue and also share the power. That is
The
the
national
only thing
pay.
they want to. Yeah, the problem comes when the sitting government or the regime decides to lock them out completely. Me, I think if Samia Suluhu opts for dialogue, he invites Tundu Lissu to the table, they agree, and both sides make concessions. That is how governments should be moving, and that's how stability
A
and
kind
peace
of
prevails
power sharing. Power sharing
yes, yes,
can become.
they can
Mm.
agree that Tundu Lissu also comes and they share power in government. There are many avenues. There are many avenues on how this dialogue can be constructed for the benefit and the future of the Tanzanians.
Thank you very much. Today I had thought to talk a little about the Nachivugo channel and then maybe Southern Sudan. You know what's happening in Southern Sudan. We may not delve into that because you know about Salva Kiir, the sacking of his deputy, demoting him from the general to private. I mean, it could be a bigger topic, but I wanted us to touch a little bit about the campaigns in Uganda now, not the presidential, but the parliamentarians. How is it that side? Are you so far shocked that they are going on like that? Because, for instance, I was following up the one of Masaka. I was seeing them. Are we seeing the usual? You know, during elections in Uganda, you know, the singing. Each candidate has their own. They are singing this side. They meet and fight. I mean, how are the elections? Because they started down. They started this week. That's when they were released.
Mm.
Yeah, the campaign is officially began this week. How is it so far?
No, the campaigns are actually the campaigns for members of parliament and the local council, government local councils are going on very well. We've not heard of incidents where the candidates have clashed or have turned rowdy or with security or anything. I think so far so good. The first week has been so calm. You can hear in the background the loud blast of music as they go on with their businesses. I think this time round it is something different. It is somehow different because the opposition in Uganda knows very well that the presidential campaigns, the presidential election is more like predetermined. The outcome is more like it can be even is predictable. The outcome of the presidential elections is predictable. And Godfrey, as well as our viewers, know that usually it is the presidential elections that determine the tempo of the local and parliamentary elections. Yes. Now that President Museveni is comfortable, and he is, I can assure you, he's comfortable. He knows that he is more likely to win. He is not under pressure like it was in 2020 or 2021 or even in 2016. We as Ugandans now, even the elite know it, that President Museveni is destined to win, though it may not be a slide victory, but he is more likely to win this election. And I have seen two opinion polls. One of them puts him at 58%. Another one puts him at 54%. That somehow determines the tempo in the parliamentary and the local government elections. So the thing is the factor of money. Our elections have been highly monetized. This time, you know that if you do not have money, then you're not likely to win the vote.
Yeah.
And I can tell you also that is a factor that determines the tempo of an election. Because if you have, for instance, 5 candidates, and one of them is well known to be a big spender, then the others will not throw in a lot of weight. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. They will not fight hard because they know the citizens' trust in the electoral commission is also very low. You understand that.
Apollo? we lose Apollo again, but you'll have to forgive us, our viewers. Today the network has not been good on his side. Apollo is all the way from Uganda. That's why he's based. And as I said, he's a senior journalist based in Uganda. He's been a parliamentary reporter. So whatever he says, he's really at it. That's his job. And as informing you, Agaba, our other panelist, is not feeling well with his family. And Chigundu, the CEO, Tukikube Media, has excused himself, but is there. We are talking about the parliamentary elections. And if you've just joined us, Uganda is going through both presidential and parliamentary elections, and parliamentary and local council elections. So Apollo was giving us his analysis on what he thinks is going to is happening in the elections. Yes, Apollo, you are back. Sorry, your network is doing a disservice to our users today.
I am sorry, but it is something that is beyond my But I was saying there are certain factors that that will determine the tempo.
Okay. Yeah, he again goes. Yeah, but what we are looking at the parliamentary local council elections in Uganda plus the presidential elections. And Apple is trying to dissect for us the factors, the points that he thinks are going on. Apple, you're back, I can see. Sorry about the network, sir. We are even concluding.
Okay. I think let me conclude like this, if you can hear me. I was saying, one, the factor is that the outcome of the presidential election will be actually be predetermined. Is predetermined. You can predict it. That is one factor that somehow determines the tempo of the other elections. Two is the fact that the factor of money. That if you are in election, you know that your competitor has a lot of money, and the voters also want money. Then you will not put in a lot of energy. I don't know if you also get that one. That is another factor, and we are seeing it in areas where we have big spenders. Actually, others are pulling out. Some of them are actually pulling out. They are losing interest and they are pulling out.
What do you mean?
The last one I was talking about.
Apollo, when you say others are losing interest and pulling out, tell our viewers what you mean and who are those that are pulling out. In pulling out, what do you mean? As in pulling out of the race, pulling out of the campaigns? What do you mean?
I can give an example of Nyamtoro. Not big spenders per se, but because they are competitors, somehow they've later found out that against them they have pulled out. And as I speak, Nyamtoro is unopposed, Ofono Pondo is unopposed. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. That there are times when the race is very unfair, and you see that you will not go a long way, and then you decide to pull out. Those are the things. Sometimes it is about money. Someone sees predicts and knows that even if I put in my money, I will not win this vote, because the voters So a person looks into his bank account and says, no, I was nominated, but I cannot run this race up to the end. And that all that demoralizes and determines the tempo of an election. Finally, I talked about the issue of the trust in the Electoral Commission. Ugandans over time have lost trust in the Electoral Commission, saying or claiming, and actually it is their opinion. They say the Electoral Commission is biased. The Electoral Commission cannot preside over a fair election. So also that one kills the tempo of an election, because a person knows that he may win. At the end, the returning officer will the results will be altered, will be doctored. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. All those factors play in an election campaign, and that is why the election campaign we are in is not so hyped, is not so vibrant. There are many factors in this election campaign, and that is why it is lukewarm. The situation, the campaigns are lukewarm.
So, Apollo, does that mean, because Uganda is under a parliamentary system, political parliamentary system. Now, when you say that people are pulling out, does it mean that these political parties are not supporting their candidates? Because if we are talking about money, now, are you insinuating that we are still kind of, yes, we are under multi-party, but still under the single party, the way it was, the individual merit? Is it what people look at? So the multi-party system doesn't work in Uganda? It's just a formality, as you conclude on that?
I will give you an example of the Democratic Party.
Actually, before you give me an example, you know DF, the Democratic Front of Mathias Mpuuga, they have been, boasting, saying for them, they supported all their candidates. NRM said the same. They gave money, they gave logistical support to their candidates. NUP also said they gave some of them. It's just some few political parties which don't have money that have not given money to their candidates. So if political parties are supporting their candidates, and then in turn, you, an analyst on the ground, a journalist, is saying people are pulling out because they don't have money. So that's what I wanted our viewers to understand. Thank you.
No, the money the political parties give their candidates is just a drop in an ocean, because the campaigns in Uganda, for instance, the MP campaigns, the campaigns for parliament, I think there is an NGO that issued a report that to successfully conduct a campaign for parliament in Uganda, you need a minimum of at least 800 million. That's on in a report of an NGO in Uganda. I want to ask you, Godfrey, and others who are watching, how many candidates do you think can afford 800 million to run a campaign in Uganda for an MP?
And
so
maybe what you should also add, maybe what you should add is that the 800 million depends on which constituency. There are some constituencies which can even go beyond that, and maybe others can come down, but the majority of them, it's 800 and above. Yes, go on.
Actually, that was an average, not a minimum. It was an average of around 800 million.
Yes.
So others, actually, we have on record a candidate in Uganda who spent, in 2021 elections, who spent 2 billion Ugandan shillings to go to parliament. 2 billion. So you see how expensive campaigns in Uganda are, and the support from the party, I can tell you, even the NUP candidates, even the DF, like you said, they only give you nomination fees, which was 3 million. They can give you some little money for posters, but that is not where the big chunk of the money goes during the campaigns for MPs. The big chunks go to facilitating the agents, right from the beginning of the campaigns up to the end, and even on polling day. You have to facilitate them. Then it also goes to bribing the voters. You have to in some way and to a larger extent pay these voters to to give you a vote.
You know,
when the when the electoral guide.
If you go to Kisoro where you come from and you are campaigning, so you're talking, giving them how you're going to build the roads, how you're going to, for them, they're basically telling you the throat is dry. Please, the throat is, they're not listening, but they tell you the throat is dry.
Exactly. So even when the campaigns, the political parties are boasting the support to their candidates, they give them little money. They don't give them much to facilitate those campaigns up to the end. So it comes back to these individual candidates, and usually those who have been in the politics of Uganda have learned the art. They have learned the art of winning. What you do when you go to parliament, you amass as much wealth as you can, preparing for the next election. Even if that is why we have seen members of parliament cutting deals, both in committees of parliament, cutting deals even outside parliament, cutting deals with government. I can tell you, we have seen political parties, the ones you have mentioned, the new political parties, cutting deals with the government so that they get money and then prepare for what? Prepare for an election campaigns. So the parties, yes, somehow can give you posters, but those posters will not even take you that support will not take you the long way to win an election. So that is why some of the candidates who have been in the politics are assured. Most of them are assured. They seek. Actually, those who are aligned to the ruling party, they somehow ally to the big shots, the big people who have money. I know members of parliament who I don't want to mention, but you know the powerful lady in government who has a lot of money. They want to align because they know that she will support them during the campaign, and possibly that's how they will return to parliament. So the fact of money cannot be ruled out around this.
There you are again. Yes, viewers, as I said, Apollo has a problem of network. Yes, we have, but generally he was informing us about their campaigns in Uganda, and it's very shocking that to campaign or to win an election, an MP election in Uganda, you need about 800 million, according to Apollo and the survey that was done by NGO. So it's not easy. Yes, Apollo, sorry, you're back. Welcome.
Yes, I was concluding and saying it is not so good having the politics monetized to this level where the result is determined by money, and let me tell you, it has gone to a level even where you can pay and the results change at the last moment. We have been here with the stories of candidates who connive with the returning officers to alter the elections at the last minute, and that is so bad for our country and so bad for our democracy.
So meaning that at campaign period you put in money, then again you also influence the result on the declaration forms. Very unfortunate. No,
people who know the politics, who understand the politics of Uganda, you may not even see them. You may not see them. vigorously, doing campaigns. They know how to win. They know how to win. Somehow, if they understand how to work it out with the returning officers, they will use their money, and in the end, you'll see them.
All right. So, Apollo, if you are hearing me, yes, okay. Apollo seems to have gone, but as we conclude, we were analyzing the political temperature in Uganda, and as you can see, without money, chances of winning are minimum. I'd wanted to ask Apollo whether this time the loop wave of 2020, 2021 will have an impact again. Oh, yes, Apollo, you were concluding, but as you are coming in, I wanted you to, enlighten our viewers. Last elections of 2020, 2021, NUP emerged victorious because one, people are saying it was a wave. Two, the one who is leading it, popular musician Bobby Wine, and of course people were yearning for change. But the majority of NUP candidates who came didn't have money, and they all sailed. Now, are we seeing the same? That where they say, take umbrella, whether you have money or not, you'll get the elections. You'll get the victory. Two, I've also seen candidates have changed the tactics. Now they are going house to house, what they call njuku nju. House to house. I've seen most of them combing their areas. They walk. Thirdly, the last one. There was this guy called Lucy that he told Sarah's husband, the one who says Sarah is tall. For him, he's coming up with another thing that I thought as Ugandans would adopt. And he says, why would somebody go and call 200 people and you address them on what you want to do for them? Saying, why can't we address them on the media? Why can't we engage them on the system? And then he says, to become an MP, I don't need to listen to you. This is the reason why you're calling me, is because I can think for you, and if I need, I can always call you, but it's not you to tell me what to do. How do you think of his ways of, because he says one, he wrote to the electoral commission and said he's not going to appear on a single campaign rally, he's just going to do it digitally. And he reasons out and says, every Ugandan, or most of his voters in Kampala Central have phones. The majority of them are on social media. If they're not on social media, they're on radios. If they're not on radios, they're on TVs. So he said somehow he will get them. All he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to spend a single coin. What is your view on that one? And the new campaign strategies of house to house and the wave, as we conclude, sir?
I don't want to waste time on Rosie, because Rosie to me is a reincarnation of Segirinya. You know how Segirinya Muhammad came to the limelight, carrying TVs, carrying wheelbarrows to Murago Hospital, and all that. Lucy, I wish him well, because perhaps that is what Ugandans want. You know, Ugandans don't want serious people. This serious debate we have here, you who that debate of comedy and what. That's how I at him. He makes good points. If he is not ready to put in money, I think that is what we are speaking about. Elections or politics should not be commercialized. I think that's a good point he speaks about. But again, how will he access the media and all that? He will spend some money at least. I know that he has been spending money on with some media houses. Anyway, that is another issue. But you raised a very important issue about the NUP wave. That's another aspect we should be very keen about, because as analysts, we should be able to predict and relate to the history. because the wave of NUP in 2021 election was a big factor. It brought many, not only members of parliament, but even at lower levels, councillors and the LC5 and all those. It brought leaders into offices. But I can assure you, some of these leaders have not delivered to the expectations of the citizens, and the citizens are also awake to the fact that perhaps this wave did them a disservice, because what they expected is not what they actually see in these leaders when they went to office. So you can be sure that some of those leaders will be dropped. They will not be re-elected in office. That is very true. But some of them will come back, because, like I said, if you have been in office for 5 years and you know the politics, you'll amass some money and you'll use that money to come back. That's something we had talked about it, that if you have money, you have a way to office of leadership in Uganda. So the other thing in this issue is the issue of independence. Even where these people came into power because of the NUP wave, people are now turning to independent, that individual merit. People are now looking at leaders according to their capabilities, how they can deliver, instead of going for parties. And this also digs into our earlier conversation on political parties, that political parties in Uganda have become very, very weak. They have become very, very weak, and now people are losing interest in political parties. They're actually looking at how individuals can deliver and what they can bring to table. I was giving an example of the DP. Imagine the oldest political party in Uganda. DP was formed in 1952-54, around there. The oldest political party in Uganda, and now they don't have a presidential candidate. And the DP president, Norbert Mao, came out publicly to declare that he will support Museveni. You can imagine, he will support an opposition party president is declaring that he will support the incumbent, and he has his reasons. For him, he is saying now we need to prepare for transition. Perhaps maybe he thinks President Museveni will give him power, will just hand him power, and he will lead Uganda, which is a fallacy. That one is a distant dream. President Museveni will not just give him power. You have to compete for power. You have to, because power, we know how power is handled and how power is transferred from one group to another. It is either by force or through a democratic process. That is how power is handled. So with weakened opposition, a weakened political party system, weakened political parties, of course, the citizens will look for their own way, and the only way is individual merit, and that is why we expect this time around to have many more independents. If you didn't know, the biggest opposition in parliament is not NUP. The biggest opposition is independent, because we had, I think there were 78 independent MPs in parliament, and NUP had 57 MPs in parliament. So this time around, we as observers can authoritatively predict that in the next parliament, we'll have around 100 independent MPs in parliament. And that tells you how our politics are shifting. The politics is shifting because we assume that we are under a multi-party system where multi-parties are becoming weaker and weaker. You cannot believe it. So it is a state of confusion. We don't know what is happening and what will happen.
Yes, thank you so much, Apollo. As we come to the conclusion, do you have any good or bad event of the past weeks? Anything you can share with our viewers, and then we can conclude. Any good event?
Oh, that is interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm trying to look around. the good, the good and the bad. Oh my God. I can tell you my daughter is sitting for A6. Angel is sitting is in exams. I think I'm happy about it. And I hope for the best from her
she's
exam.
sitting senior 6 in November, right?
The bad thing is, yeah.
When are the
Right
senior
now-
sixes
Right now
beginning?
they are into exams.
When are the senior
No,
sixes?
they started.
Oh, already?
The senior A-level exam started 2 weeks ago.
Oh, can you please give a cyber success card to Angel and tell her that from the bi-weekly news roundup, we wish you the best, we wish her the best. And if we had known, we would have sent her a card, but we are giving her a cyber card. Tell her, Uncle Godfrey says success. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Godfrey. The bad thing, the bad incident is what I talked about in Western Uganda, where I saw the security and the NRM supporters, attacking Chagulanyi and his team. I still insist this shouldn't be happening in Western Uganda or anywhere in the country. It is time for campaigns. They should let everyone go about campaigning and reach out and reach their people, reach the masses, and let the ballot determine on 15th January 2026. Otherwise, I must appreciate you people. I must appreciate Tukikube updates, Tukikube media for the opportunity, and you yourself, our host. I didn't know that you honed the skills when I was hosting you. You were also learning the skills of hosting.
After you forget, we started together, so because I didn't get a chance. Because I didn't get a chance of. Mm-hmm.
You didn't get a chance to practice, but I'm sure you were learning when I was hosting. You were learning from me, though you don't want to admit that you.
No, I have to tell
lessons.
I have to tell our viewers that so many years ago, I had told them before you came that Agaba, myself, and a few others would be hosted by you, Apollo, to see me on either Impact FM, some radio stations where we would come very early in the morning. We are there and we would speak for 4 hours. And we had followers. People used to ask me, we're no longer here in radio. Apollo, for me, the good event is my daughter applied for a UN fellow and they gave her. So good news is that next week she's going to be graduating as a UN fellow and as a university young girl at university. So it's going to add on her CV. And I like the fact that she's going to graduate and it was all smiles. So we hope.
Congratulations. Congratulations
yes,
to our daughter.
Yes. So I want to thank you, Apollo, for, you spare your time to come and be with us and brief us what takes place in Kampala. Nobody pays you. And it's very unfortunate that today your network was not very good, but we hope next time it will be fine. Thank you to Tukikube Media, who gives us his channel to make sure that we share with our viewers what we know and what we don't know. We learn from them. And as we told you, let's have the comments keep coming in. We want to make it live. So maybe the next one will be live. And for Agaba Babigumira, we wish you the best, good of luck. Next week, he says he has an operation. So we are going to keep praying for you with your family. Please get a quick recovery, Agaba. And definitely know that we missed you today. But thank you so much. So from us to you, want to say thank you very much. Tukikube, we don't take you for granted. And we're happy that you're back. May your sister continue resting in peace.
Yes, ate bwembanga mugenda ku mikolo ng'egyo nga mwagala okufuna ku bwambalo obwakabingo obwo mbaga nga muzikoledde mu Uganda munoonye kuba naffe aba Angie's Creations. Angie Creations bakola obwambalo buno bwakabi. Tobeera ku mukolo ne gutanyuma weefunira akambalo. Angie Creations bajja kukolako buli kimu kyonna ky'otaaga.